Football has Barcelona, Formula One has Ferrari, but in a world of two-wheeled riding, a company that never intended to build motorcycles became the most passionate brand in two-wheeled history. This is the story of three brothers, one devastating war, and the Italian obsession that created the most beautiful and successful race bikes the world has ever seen. Ferrari has its prancing horse. Lamborghini has its raging bull. But Ducati has something more powerful than any symbol. It has passion. Pure, unfiltered Italian passion that flows through every red-painted frame and thunders from every L-twin engine. They call it the Bologna Bullet, the sound that every MotoGP fan knows by heart, that distinctive dry clutch rattle, that earth-shaking exhaust note, that unmistakable profile cutting through corners at impossible angles. It's the sound of a company that survived destruction, conquered impossibility, and redefined what a motorcycle could be. From a radio factory bombed to rubble in 1944 to the most successful manufacturer in world superbike history, Ducati's story isn't just about motorcycles, it's about resurrection. It's about three brothers who built an empire twice, a genius engineer who revolutionized racing, and the relentless pursuit of perfection that turned a small Italian company into a global icon. This is the story of how a brand that started by accident became the most beloved name in motorsport. How they gave us the 916, the Monster, and the Panigale. How they conquered MotoGP when everyone said their L-twin couldn't compete. How they proved that sometimes the heart matters more than the spreadsheet. Most importantly, this is the story of passion. What happens when an entire nation falls in love with the idea of going fast, looking good, and never, ever compromising? Part 1. The Brothers and the Bomb, Bologna, 1926. While Enzo Ferrari was still racing for Alfa Romeo and Ferruccio Lamborghini was just a child, three Italian brothers were about to accidentally start a dynasty. Adriano, Bruno, and Marcello Ducati had one simple goal: make money from the new miracle of radio technology. The world was changing fast. Radio was the internet of its time. Revolutionary technology that connected people across vast distances. The Ducati brothers, inspired by Bologna's own Nobel Prize winner Guglielmo Marconi, founded Società Scientifica Radio Brevetti Ducati in 1926. Their mission was clear: build the components that would bring the magic of radio to Italian homes. What started as a small workshop quickly became something extraordinary. By 1935, the brothers had constructed one of the most modern manufacturing facilities in Europe. The Borgo Panigale factory employed over 6,000 workers and was producing not just radios, but electric calculators and even early electric shavers. The Ducati name was becoming synonymous with innovation and quality. But then came the war. World War II changed everything for Italy and for Ducati. The German occupation forced the factory to produce military radio equipment, a decision that would seal its fate. In the eyes of the Allied forces, the Ducati factory had become a legitimate military target. October 12, 1944. Operation Pancake. At 12:45 p.m., 75 American B-24 bombers appeared over Bologna. Their target was clear. The Ducati plant, the biggest factory of Bologna with over 6,000 workers, was largely destroyed. In 15 minutes, 750 bombs reduced one of Europe's most advanced facilities to rubble. The radio era was over. But from that destruction, something magical would emerge. Part 2. The Cucciolo Revolution. The Italy of 1945 was a country on its knees. Cities lay in ruins, the economy had collapsed, and millions of people needed cheap, reliable transportation. The Ducati brothers, surveying their destroyed empire, made a decision that would change automotive history. They would pivot from radios to transportation. There was just one problem. They had never built anything that moved under its own power. So they did what Italian entrepreneurs do best. They found someone who could help them. Enter Seata, a small Turin-based company that had developed something revolutionary for post-war Europe, the Cucciolo. Named Little Puppy for its gentle exhaust note, this tiny 48 cubic centimeter four-stroke engine could be clipped onto any bicycle, transforming it into a motorized vehicle. It made just 1.5 horsepower, but delivered an incredible 180 miles per gallon. The Ducati brothers struck a licensing deal and began mass production. By 1946, they were producing 25,000 Cucciolo engines per year. From the rubble, the company had found new life. The little engine that sounded like a puppy barking became the foundation of the Ducati motorcycle empire. In 1950, the transformation was complete. Ducati unveiled the 60 Sport, their first true motorcycle. It used a 60cc pull rod engine, making 2.5 horsepower and could reach 40 miles per hour. More importantly, it featured Ducati's own frame design with an integrated fuel tank, establishing the engineering philosophy that would define the company for decades. The 60 Sport wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a statement. Ducati was no longer in the radio business. They were now in the business of freedom, speed, and Italian style. Part 3. The Genius of Fabio Taglioni. By 1954, Ducati had established itself as a competent motorcycle manufacturer, but competent wasn't enough in the rapidly evolving world of Italian motorsport. Their rival Mondial had just won the prestigious MotoGP d'Italia with their 125 racer, a victory that guaranteed massive sales increases. Ducati needed their own racing success, and they found it in the most Italian way possible, through wounded pride and petty revenge. Fabio Taglioni, a brilliant young engineer at Mondial, had played a crucial role in their race-winning machine. But when Mondial celebrated their victory, they committed an unforgivable sin. They didn't invite Taglioni to the post-race party. The next day, in a fit of wounded Italian pride, Taglioni quit. He wouldn't even tell his colleagues why he was leaving. He simply packed his desk and walked out. Ducati's general manager, recognizing genius when he saw it, immediately approached the newly unemployed engineer with an offer. Join Ducati, save the company from bankruptcy, and build the race bikes of your dreams. Taglioni accepted, and with that decision, changed motorcycle history forever. His first creation was the Grand Sport Mariana, a lightweight racer that weighed less than 180 pounds and could reach 120 miles per hour, terrifying speeds for the 1950s. A year later, his 125 cubic centimeter Mariana, ridden by Giuliano Maioggi, won the 1956 MotoGP d'Italia. Ducati had their breakthrough victory, but Taglioni wasn't finished. He was working on something revolutionary, a valve system that would eliminate the engine failures that plagued early racing motorcycles. Instead of relying on springs to close valves, his desmodromic system used camshafts to both open and close them with mechanical precision. In 1956, the 125 desmodromic racer debuted at the Swedish Grand Prix. The bike made 19 horsepower and could rev to 15,000 RPM, unheard of for the era. Factory rider Degli Antoni didn't just win, he lapped the entire field. The desmodromic system was so superior that Ducati still uses it today, nearly 70 years later. Part 4. the Hailwood partnership. Success in racing required more than just brilliant engineering. It needed brilliant riders. In 1959, Ducati found their perfect partner in Mike the Bike Hailwood, a 19-year-old English prodigy with supernatural talent and a father with deep pockets. Stan Hailwood didn't just believe in his son's abilities. He was willing to bet the family fortune on them. When Ducati quoted him the price for a custom 250cc Desmo twin, Stan didn't hesitate. The catch? To make it financially viable, he had to order 2,000 motorcycles. Without blinking, Stan Hailwood became Ducati's first British dealer and the buyer of 2,000 race bikes. The partnership flourished throughout the 1960s. Mike Hailwood's victories on Ducati machinery established the company's international reputation, while their road bikes, like the Diana, called Daytona in America, and the iconic Scrambler, brought Italian style to motorcycle enthusiasts worldwide. The 1964 Mach 1 became the world's fastest production 250, capable of over 100 miles per hour. In 1969, Ducati introduced their first production Desmodromic model, the Mach 3D, a 350cc single that could reach 112 miles per hour and proved that race technology could work on the street. But Ducati's ambitions extended beyond small displacement bikes. They attempted to challenge Harley-Davidson's police motorcycle dominance with the Apollo, a 1,257 cubic centimeter V4 making 100 horsepower. The bike was so powerful it destroyed tires, forcing Ducati to detune it repeatedly. Eventually, the project was abandoned, but it showed Ducati's willingness to think big. Part 5. The L-Twin Revolution. 1971 changed everything. Ducati introduced the 750 GT, their first production L-Twin, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Honda's CB750 had revolutionized the motorcycle market, proving that Japanese manufacturers could build powerful, reliable superbikes. Taglioni's response was the 750 GT, an L-twin layout with cylinders set at 90 degrees. The unusual configuration wasn't just for show. It provided perfect primary balance and a distinctive exhaust note that became Ducati's signature. The bike's handling was exceptional, but it lacked the power to truly compete with Japanese rivals. The solution came in 1972 at the Imola 200. Paul Smart and Bruno Spaggiari, riding Desmodromic versions of the 750, shocked the motorcycle world by finishing first and second. They didn't just beat the competition, they beat Giacomo Agostini on his scary monster MV Agusta. The victory was more significant than any championship. It proved that Ducati could build production-based bikes that could win against purpose-built race machines. The 750 Supersport that followed was essentially a race bike with lights. Only 401 were built in 1974, making it one of the most sought-after motorcycles in history. Mike Hailwood's comeback story provided the perfect finale to the decade. After 11 years of retirement, the bike returned to the Isle of Man TT in 1978, riding a Ducati 900 SS. His victory in the Formula One class at age 38 was one of the greatest comeback stories in motorsport and cemented Ducati's legend forever. Part 6. The Pantah and the Belt Drive. As the 1980s dawned, Ducati faced a crisis. Taglioni's bevel-driven valve systems were becoming too expensive to manufacture, threatening the company's survival. Once again, the genius engineer provided the solution: the Pantah. The Pantah featured Taglioni's new engine design, still an L-twin, still Desmodromic, but now using toothed rubber belts to drive the camshafts instead of expensive bevel gears. The system was cheaper, quieter, and more reliable. To this day, Ducati still uses belt-driven cams. The Pantah also introduced the trellis frame, a steel tube structure that allowed controlled flex for superior cornering. The combination of the new engine and frame layout became the foundation for every future Ducati. The 750 F1 that followed was a masterpiece, introducing Ducati's signature dry clutch for the first time on a road bike. That distinctive rattling noise became as much a part of the Ducati experience as the red paint and the L-twin exhaust note. But financial troubles persisted. Italy's state ownership of Ducati in the 1980s nearly killed the company. Salvation came from an unexpected source. Cagiva, a young motorcycle company owned by the Castiglioni brothers. In 1985, Cagiva purchased Ducati and immediately set their sights on world superbike domination. They developed the 851, a liquid-cooled, fuel-injected evolution of the L-twin that produced nearly 100 horsepower. It was the most powerful Ducati ever built and set the stage for unprecedented racing success. Part 7. Superbike Domination. The World Superbike Championship, founded in 1988, seemed tailor-made for Ducati. The series used production-based motorcycles, playing directly to Ducati's strengths. While Japanese manufacturers built separate race and street bikes, Ducati's philosophy had always been to race what they sold. The 851 launched Ducati's Superbike Assault, winning the inaugural championship in 1990. But it was the bike that followed, the 916, that truly established Ducati as the king of superbike racing. Designed by Massimo Tamburini, the 916 was revolutionary. Its distinctive underseat exhausts, single-sided swing arm, and voluptuous curves created a new aesthetic for superbikes. Tamburini openly admitted the bike was inspired by the female form, and nobody argued with the results. The 916 wasn't just beautiful, it was devastatingly effective. Carl Fogarty rode it to 4 World Superbike Championships between 1994 and 1999, establishing both his legend and Ducati's. The bike's combination of power, handling, and stunning looks made it an icon that transcended motorcycling. Over its 10-year production run, including the 996 and 998 evolution, the 916 platform won 6 world titles, 65 pole positions, 115 races, and 306 podiums. It proved that Italian passion could consistently beat Japanese precision. Part 8. The Monster and Mass Appeal. Not every Ducati rider wanted a full-on superbike. Recognizing this, designer Miguel Angel Galuzzi created something radical, a naked bike that exposed Ducati's beautiful engineering for all to see. The Monster, introduced in 1994, was built from parts bin components. The engine from a 900 Supersport, frame sections from various models, and suspension from wherever it fit. But the result was pure magic. The exposed trellis frame, prominent L-twin engine, and minimalist bodywork created an instant classic. The Monster wasn't just about looks, it made Ducati accessible to a broader range of riders. Its upright riding position, manageable power, and stunning aesthetics attracted new customers who might have been intimidated by the hardcore 916. By 2005, the Monster accounted for half of Ducati's sales. A parts bin special had become the company's most important model, proving that sometimes the simplest ideas are the most brilliant. Part 9. MotoGP Breakthrough. For decades, Ducati had been locked out of Grand Prix racing. The 500cc class favored 2-stroke engines, which Ducati had never developed. But in 2002, MotoGP's new 4-stroke regulations opened the door for their return. The Desmosedici was essentially two L-twins joined together, a 990cc V4 that maintained Ducati's desmodromic valve system while meeting MotoGP's power requirements. Initial results were promising, but not championship winning. That changed in 2007 when Casey Stoner joined the team. The young Australian's aggressive riding style perfectly suited the Desmosedici's characteristics. Stoner won 10 races and delivered Ducati their first MotoGP championship, proving that the L-twin philosophy could conquer the sport's pinnacle. The victory was so significant that Ducati released a road-going version, the Desmosedici RR. Only 1,500 were built worldwide, each costing $72,500. Tom Cruise was among the few who could afford one, making it one of the most exclusive motorcycles ever produced. Part 10. The V4, ERA, and Modern Domination. By 2018, Ducati faced a new challenge. Their traditional L-twin engine, which had served them for nearly 50 years, was reaching its limits in MotoGP. The competition was using V4 engines that offered better balance and more power. Ducati's response was the Panigale V4, their first large displacement V4 street bike in decades. The engine rotated opposite to the wheels, helping the bike change direction faster. It featured traction control, wheelie control, and even aerodynamic winglets borrowed from MotoGP. The V4's introduction marked the end of an era. No more L-twins in Ducati's flagship Superbikes. But it also marked the beginning of unprecedented success in MotoGP. From 2020 to 2025, Ducati dominated the Premier class like never before. They won the Constructors' Championship in 2020 for the first time in 13 years. Francesco Bagnaia claimed back-to-back Riders' Championships in 2022 and 2023. By 2025, the arrival of Marc Marquez alongside Bagnaia created what many considered the strongest MotoGP lineup in history. Ducati reached the milestone of 100 MotoGP victories and secured their 6th Constructors' World Championship title. The company that had been locked out of Grand Prix racing for decades was now its dominant force. Part 11. The passion continues. Today, Ducati produces around 60,000 motorcycles annually from their Borgo Panigale factory, the same location where American bombs once fell. Each bike carries the DNA of those three brothers who started with radios, the genius of Fabio Taglioni, and the passion of countless Italian engineers who refused to compromise. Walk through the Ducati factory today, and you'll see workers who are also riders, engineers who race on weekends, and designers who obsess over every detail. You'll hear the distinctive sound of dry clutches being tested, see the red paint being carefully applied, and feel the passion that makes Ducati unique. The trellis frames are still hand-welded, the desmodromic valves are still precisely adjusted, the exhaust note is still tuned to perfection. In an age of corporate consolidation and computer-controlled manufacturing, Ducati remains defiantly, passionately Italian. Closing. The Italian dream from radio components to MotoGP champions. From bombed-out rubble to the most successful brand in world superbike history. From three brothers with a dream to a global icon that defines Italian motorcycle passion. Ducati's story isn't just about motorcycles. It's about the refusal to give up when everything is destroyed. It's about the pursuit of perfection even when the practical choice would be compromise. It's about the belief that racing improves the breed and that beauty matters as much as function. They could have stayed in radios, They could have built boring, reliable motorcycles like everyone else. They could have given up when Honda and Yamaha seemed unbeatable. Instead, they chose passion over profit, racing over reliability, and beauty over bland efficiency. Today, when you hear that distinctive L-twin exhaust note echoing through the hills of Emilia-Romagna, or see those red fairings leaning impossibly far through a corner, or watch a Ducati cross the finish line first at Catalunya or Mugello, you're witnessing the continuation of something that began with three brothers, survived a world war, and became legend. Ducati didn't just build motorcycles, they built dreams, painted them red, and taught them to fly. In the end, that's what separates Ducati from every other motorcycle manufacturer. They never forgot that motorcycles aren't just transportation, they're passion made manifest. And sometimes, just sometimes, passion is enough to conquer the world.